Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Northern Consultations, the Rookies Edition. Once again, I am joined by my man, Daniel. How are you doing, my man?
Not bad. I've just got home from work a little while ago, and my province is under curfew as of 8 p.m., so I'm stuck inside. Other than that, not too bad.
You're not even allowed to go outside for a smoke?
I mean, I'm allowed to do that, but like you have to stay on your property and shit.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I'm where I live. I won't be surprised if we're heading towards a lockdown myself. So today we are joined by one of the members of the upcoming rookie class of the 2001 season of the Movie Trivia Schmodown. His name is Jacob Blunden. Jacob, how are you doing?
I'm well. I'm very excited and looking forward to this, and it should be a lot of fun.
So, because you're a rookie, it's fair to say that a lot of the people don't really know a whole lot about you. Can you just explain yourself just a little bit?
So, if for those of you who are older fans of the movie Trivia Schmodown, you may recognize me. I used to be fairly within this community. About 3 years ago, I was a member of Take Three. I started up the Reactors Summit. Like that was my baby 3 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was really deep within this community for a while, and then took some time away just for my own mental health, and came back about 12 months ago. I haven't really jumped head first into it all yet, but really started to come back into this community and just catching up on everything and really loving it.
So, what was the biggest surprise for you after taking that time away and then coming back? Like, what was it? What I want to say overwhelming, but it had to have been different.
I mean, to me, the biggest surprise was that Dan was back. Because when I left, Dan and Mark had both retired, and they're back. The match that I want, the match that got me back, and the one that I watched and was like, and sat down and actually was watching was Rachel's final match. That was because Rachel's always been my favorite competitor, so that was that was a tough match to come back with, but I felt like I owed her that much, and then I just started getting back into it again.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, I honestly, I could see definitely that match in particular being a great match to bring people back in because it was the end of an era for two of the greatest competitors we've ever seen.
Yeah, and yeah, it was heartbreaking, but also fantastic to watch.
100%. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, I might be the bad guy around here these days, but I was definitely a Rachel Cushing and a Shire Wolves fan, like through and through. I back in my good days, you know. And so what got you into like movies in general? What's your like gateway? Is it a person, a particular movie?
I actually have no idea what started it all. I do have the date when I went from being someone who just watched a lot of movies to movies were everything. And it was actually the day I watched that one. And and that was 2009. And within a week, I basically I watched Good Will Hunting, Shawshank, Pulp Fiction, Godfather. Like I just went through the classics and just watched as much and as many as I could. And 2009 was really the year that I fell deeply in love with movies. But before then, like I was always going to the video store back when those were still a thing.
I remember.
And picking up 10, 20 movies and taking them home and just sitting down and watching them all because they were cheap and it was something to do.
It sounds like we were cut from the same cloth because I used to do the same thing around, well, not 2000, earlier than that, but yeah, definitely. VHS tapes back then for me.
Yeah, Quebec has a weird thing with ratings where depending on what type of R rating it is, it'll actually be rated 16 plus, which means the video store will only call your parents and ask you if that you can rent that, and like my buddy was renting all sorts of movies that we should not be like watching at 10, 11, 12 years old, but
Yeah, me with my buddies, it was my family that was doing that. So I was watching movies like Tommy Boy and Robin Hood Men in Tights the year they came out. So I would have been, what, 7?
So our rating systems, basically majority of your R-rated films are PG-13 for us, which is amazing.
You know, it's like that for us in Canada too, to be honest. Like, It is rated R in the States. It's 14A here in Canada.
Yeah, it's MA here, which is, but it's 15-year-olds, so it's 15 restricted.
It just makes me wonder just how sensitive the Americans are. Sorry, no offense to the Americans, but
yeah. So we were, so I used to be able to just go in, and because I was 15 at the time, so I'd get anything and everything, and I'd just watch as much as I could, much to the annoyance of my parents, because I'd be doing that instead of homework and studying, and that would be the majority of my conversations. And I'd be like, can you talk about literally anything else? So I'd bring up politics, and then they go back to movies.
Yeah. I once got in trouble by my parents for quoting a line from a Ralph Macchio movie that when I was, 8 years old in the middle of a restaurant, but I did it with the passion he does in the movie, and there was an F-bomb in it. Yeah, it's the last time I did that in the restaurant.
I got away with that because my parents were giant nerds too. My dad has, he probably still has a collection of VHS tapes. He has way too many DVDs. He's got some movies in triplicate form because he has them VHS, DVD, Blu-ray.
Yeah, I've got a few of those.
So in Australia, you don't get the digital copy with a lot of your movies, so it doesn't actually come with a digital copy. So there's, I want to say, at least 300. It might be more movies that I own that I have bought at least 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And that's on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital. And now about a good 100 of them are now 4 times because I've upgraded to 4K as well.
You definitely got me beat on that. I'd probably say it's a good 50 that I've done that with, but 300, wow.
No, yeah. And that's me being kind. It's probably a lot more if I'm being honest. And
I thought I had
50 of them in the Disney movies alone. So, yeah.
Yeah, the only one, most of mine are because of the digital copies, but the only one where I specifically really bought a Manel platform was Sing Street.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's understandable. Yeah, so because I, in 2016, was convinced by my then girlfriend, hey, we should just start getting a digital collection because it's really annoying picking up all your Blu-rays and shipping them between houses when we would go see each other. So we should just get a digital collection. So we, within the space of about 6 months, pretty much bought my entire Blu-ray collection, which was at the time about 500 movies, and bought them all digitally on Apple. I did that for about 3 years, and then 4K is what got me to start going back to physical, because the 4K on digital here is terrible because our internet sucks. So the internet you get here is just not fantastic. So I would buy the actual 4K physically, and then that got me back to actually going back and buying the physical discs of the movies I missed for 3 years. So yeah, I'm nearing 1,000 at the moment, if not more, at least.
I do have you beat on that then, because I got, my last count was 1,400 just behind me. And my friends, when they say, hey, can you help me move? They're just like, motherfucker, because I'm the guy who tries to use as little least amount of boxes as possible. So my DVD collection, they fucking hate it when they have to move.
Yeah, we had to move. My partner and I moved about 6 months ago, and when we did that, we're looking to move again in a couple of months, which I'm really not looking forward to. But when we did all of our Blu-rays, it was 5 boxes, and since then I've gotten a lot more, so I'm not looking forward to
when I moved to my place now, it was how many totes was it? It was 7 or 8 totes full, and those are totes too. Yeah. So what got you in? Okay, so back to the Schmodown. What was it
Yeah.
that got you into this type of space, like Schmodown and what have you?
Well, I've actually been following Christian and Mark for about 10 years. So
You're OG.
yeah. So the first review of theirs I ever watched was Inception, because that movie was, and so I followed Christian and Mark and Jeremy Johns, and then 6 months later, Chris Stuckman came back into the space.
Okay.
And I'd follow him. So like I started following those three really quite a lot, and then they did the U Reviewers awards at one year, and that was a big thing, and that started to introduce me to a whole lot of other reviewers. And then, but at the same time, I was also following Campier. And so when he started the AMC podcast, AMC Movie Talk, I was a real big fan of that, which then became Collider, which then became so that's I've really been there since the beginning, and I would watch the podcast all the time. I would watch AMC religiously. So I've been there since the beginning, and I've really kind of just fell into it. But that was also just because, you know, when they started, I had just started college. I had a lot of free time, so movies and YouTube videos, and it was really the birth of YouTube. Like 2010 was. I was talking about this the other day. 2010 was really when they started to go from where YouTube went, okay, 10-minute intervals isn't enough anymore. You can go to 15. You can go to half an hour, and then they eventually just went, you can go 10 hours. Do whatever you want. And it was really around that time, and that was when a lot of these creators and film talk started to really blow up on the space. And Christian and Mark were just two funny guys that I really enjoyed. I really liked Jeremy's, and I just kind of fell into following their careers.
Right on. Sorry, Daniel, do you have anything?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, if you're like in the draft and you're being picked by a manager, are you like already in contact with these people? Are you talking to your perspective, like the places you want to go? Rather than talk about who it is, you know?
So I have had a few conversations with some managers. There's a few places that I'm not going to reveal who or where I would like to end up, but there are a few I would like to end up. If I'm lucky enough, it would be fantastic. My idea for this season, because I do have the problem of I live internationally. So I don't live in America. I live in Australia. At the moment,
Canada.
Yeah, COVID's difficult, and traveling over there is pretty difficult. My partner is American, so we go over there quite a lot to see her family, but it is quite difficult to get over there at the moment. But I've talked to Christian about this, and there are ways around it all working. So I'm hopeful that I can get drafted, even though I am working and living internationally.
Has there been a part of you that's still in shock about it, or does your previous experience with Take 3 kind of lessen that a little bit?
There is, I think my previous experience does lessen it a little bit. I am also, however, I think the real shock's going to come if I get drafted. So being in the draft at the moment, I really want to get drafted, and I really would love for a manager to say he's who I want. But I'm not under any real belief that I'm owed that or anything because of my previous experience. And so if I do, I think that's when I'm really going to get shocked of like, oh, I'm in this. This happened. Whereas in right now, it's very much cool. This is fantastic. I can't believe I made this cut.
Yeah,
Let's see what happens from here. But I am very excited.
that's good to hear.
Yeah, and
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I'm not seeing like too much of an issue with you being international, because there are several international people who are like joining the draft at the very least, and
Yeah.
whether or not they like are higher on a draft list than others because of the like location restriction shouldn't be as much of a factor, considering it's almost as hard to get from New York to Los Angeles at the moment, even if there was studio matches. Like,
yeah, and that's, I think right now is probably the best time for it, especially considering I do have plans to move to the US at some point. Like that is our goal. That is like, and not just because of this. Like, it's because my partner wants to go back home, and that's, you know, that's our plan at some point, is to get back over there. So if, you know, if this is a 12-month stopgap before we're able to do that, then it's probably the perfect time for that, if you get what I mean.
No, 100%. Take us through the moment you found out you were in the draft.
So again, time zones. I woke up to about 5 notifications of just Jacob, Christian Harloff has tagged you in this, and it's kind of a surreal thing because a lot of the stuff that Christian and the Schmodown will do is pretty much at around about 2 a.m. in the morning for me. Oof. So it's kind of this surreal thing, especially when you're not expecting it. So when I wasn't expecting Christian to announce it that day, so to get up and wake up and see these notifications and messages from friends and people saying congratulations, you've made the draft, like, it's kind of that, like, okay, you're being jolted awake and you're trying to take a minute to actually like process what just happened, while you're also waking up. So it's a little surreal for me whenever something like that happens. Like, whenever big news drops, it's the first thing that smacks me in the face when I wake up in the morning, because I'll check my phone and be like, oh, something massive in the world just happened. And I wake up, and I woke up that morning about a week and a half ago, and it was like, oh, I have made the draft. And I was beyond excited, and it was just that moment of, wow, it actually happened. I can't believe it. And yeah.
Is there still a part of you that's like, when you first got that, did you like have to like
so kind of, it was I woke up and was looking at it and just going, hang on, wow, he actually put my name on there. I couldn't really believe it, but I mean, he does. So my history is, when this is old school, before the modern versions of the fan leagues. I was the first, one of the first champions to ever be in a fan league, because
so you got some credentials, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah. At least I did. And because what happened was, Take 3 were the first ones to come up with the fan league. It originally started on Take 3, and then I was one of the members of Take 3, and I ended up winning the belt, because we came up with a championship structure, and I ended up making it all the way to win the belt. Then I defended it, and then the channel got to a place where we're like, we need to separate the fan leagues from the Schmodown content, because they were crisscrossing, and we literally used to call ourselves the Fan Movie Trivia Schmodown League. So it was kind of cross-branding, and
you have a remembrance of that a little bit.
Yeah, and it wasn't really helping our brand or Christians. So it ended up having a complete restructure, where they basically vacated the title and created a brand new competition that ended up becoming its own independent thing. And at that point, I'd kind of taken a break from fighting because I was so focusing on building Take 3 as a channel. So we were focusing on, you know, the Schmodown content and the reactors, because we would do something every day, like the Reactors Summit, our actual reactions. Reactions started because we were watching, because everyone heard of my friend in Take 3 had already watched the Roker Dan match, and I hadn't.
Oh.
And so we sat down, and so I was on a Skype call with them, and they were like, "Oh no, we've got to get your reaction to this." So, and they recorded it, and I don't think that ever actually went anywhere, that recording, but they just wanted my reaction to it, which was obviously fantastic because Roker winning was great.
Yeah, it's one of the great for the history of the Schmodown.
But then we went, oh, okay, how about we do this regularly? And I know, and Late to the Party and were already also doing it, reactions at that point. So we then decided, okay, well, let's also start uploading reactions. So Late to the Party and us were two of the real beginners of doing Schmodown reactions. And then by the end of that first year, pretty much every man and their dog were doing a Schmodown reaction because Christian loved them. Christian would constantly promote them, and he absolutely loved them. But
I do remember that. Like, there wasn't that many at that time. No, it doesn't seem that long ago if you think about it.
It's one of those weird things where it's 3 years ago, which doesn't feel that long ago, but then at the same time, it feels like a life ago.
That was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
For perspective, I kind of only got into the Schmodown about 3 years ago, and I had to like catch up, and it was in season 5, but like I watched from season 3. I like binge watched a bunch of it and skipped some things and went like as quickly as I could. But yeah, and also on the mention of there being so many of these, like, of the reaction videos, I think like we made a point to not make one of those shows on our channel because there were so many of them that it wasn't something different to do.
Basically, we had to go after it as from the angle of a sports center.
Yeah, and that was really towards the end of my tenure on Take 3, that's kind of where I was trying to push it. I much rather do Reactors Summit, which is the discussing of the game and talking about the game and talking about the storylines and how people, but I'm more interested in how people played the game, not so much the storylines behind it. And I get why there's the entertainment and the storylines behind it, because that was for the reactions. The reactions are what you when people did the reactions, that's what they were reacting to. I really loved doing it on the Reactors Summit, talking about why Bibiani wasn't performing the way he was, because this was the year that I was there. That was the year that Bibiani was meant to be the heir apparent to was going to be the heir apparent to Dan. And he won one game in the entire year, and it was an absolutely just craziness.
And you look back at it now, and you're like, "That Bibbs, really?"
Yeah, and now Bibbs is an icon. Like he's a former champion. He lived up to the, I guess. He lived up to the hype that everyone gave him after that first game against Andreyko, because that first game against Andreyko was insane.
Still is.
Yeah.
It's so okay. I'm going to ask you this from an analyst's point of view. Do you think that was a mistake then, putting all that hype on Bibbs right away? Like, do you think that's a mistake to do that in general?
I do. I think there is a mistake in analysts and fans after one match crowning people an heir apparent, and I think we've learnt that now with after one match, give them a second or third before you decide where are they. Bibbs's one was a little different though, because he came in and he not only broke the record, but he took Andrago, who also broke a record toe to toe. Like that game where he didn't miss a question, we had never seen before, and it was kind of one of those like, oh crap moments of just, this is insane. But I also think when we see something like that, I think analysts need to be aware of where the players' strengths are in terms of, and this was something that I really loved discussing, was answering trivia questions isn't this game. This game isn't just answering questions. Not anymore, but it never has been. It's been answering the right questions in the right rounds. So why Bibbs does so well in free-for-all is because those questions are 1 point or 1 point or slightly or 2 pointed questions. It's just questions. And that shows that Bibbs is really good at trivia. He knows trivia really, really well. What he's not good at is the game. Or at least at the time, what he wasn't good at and where he was failing was the game, in that he would take a 5-pointer or a 3-pointer and it would cost him the game, because that final round just would absolutely destroy him because it was so heavily weighted.
So,
and that, yeah.
Oh, sorry. If you wanted to finish that thought.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, from that analyst point of view, without like giving away anything in particular, how do you tackle the slice of actor, we'll say? And like, is there a way to break down that sort of information that you think is particular to yourself that managers should look out for?
So I'm someone who very much knows the game inside and out, and that's something that a lot of competitors don't, which is fairly obvious when you watch a lot of competitors play. They make mistakes in terms of moments when to just hang on, take a breath, relax, and calm the nerves. And that's something I'm able to do pretty well whenever I was competing. I was able to just relax, calm the nerves, and think about, what's this question worth? Do I take the multiple choice, or do I just risk it? And I think a lot of competitors make the mistake of thinking they're going to embarrass themselves. And instead, to me, it's, if I embarrass myself, who cares? Like, I've got to know, it's internet cred. I'm not really, it's not the end of the world. And I'm kind of, that's where I'm coming from it. And for a manager, I think that's something that in this draft class, especially with a whole bunch of rookies, you want someone who knows the game and knows the game inside and out and extremely well, but also has that base level of knowledge and is able to prove it. Because look, I'm not under any assumption that I'm going to challenge for belts this year. I don't. That's not my goal for this year. My goal for this year is to sneak 2 or 3 wins, get 2 or 3 wins in, and honestly learn. I want to learn from the game and learn from these managers and better myself as a competitor, so next year I'm worth quite a lot, and I can stay with the manager, because I'm someone who I would, if a manager picked me, I would show loyalty. I want to show loyalty to someone who took a chance on me. So I want to spend this year improving studying techniques, improving my game management and my character, because that's the thing I need to work on the most.
Yeah, that's the thing about characters, is there's definitely going to be quite the stiff competition this year for character work.
Yeah.
I personally do have one more question. Basically, you're not a wrestling fan, eh? Like this, you never understood the comparisons between it, or what? What have you?
I know.
That was not your approach to getting into the Schmodown?
No, definitely not. Wrestling, like, I know of wrestling. I know some things of it, and I've looked up a lot of things, but I'm not I've never really been a massive wrestling fan. So the wrestling aspect for me with the Schmoedown has never been its draw. When we were doing our reactions, I really got into it because like the storylines really did grab me for a while there, and they still do, but the sport is what grabs me the most. Like I love the sport of trivia, and I love this. I know this is greater than just a trivia competition, because just a trivia competition wouldn't be very entertaining, but the way that it's been built and structured has made it extremely entertaining, and that's why I love this sport so much.
Yeah, somehow it combines like my love of trivial knowledge and also like theatrics, and also I was a wrestling fan. I'm not so much today, but like I've like done all of these things before, so it just combines them all into one very nice like glob of awesome. And so speaking of the game, and also a little bit about character, because we're trying to get to know what yours is, we did ask you if you wanted to prepare a promo either about yourself or towards another competitor who's entering the draft class.
I personally think the answer you gave us about how you're more into the game itself and whatever, I thought that was a pretty good promo. That wasn't the promo.
But that's realistically, that is me. I've always more been into the game itself than I have the wrestling aspects, but I really want to come in and prove, and I'm not coming in to prove myself as I'm going to be the next Dan Merle, because I'm not. I already know it straight up. Like, I could be one day, but I'm not going to do it this year. And I think any rookie who has the belief that they're going to come in and who acts like they're going to come in and be Dan Merle or John Roker is fooling themselves and is probably more just going to embarrass themselves. I think you need to come in with the expectation of, hey, you're probably going to get 2, maybe 3 matches, and that's if you're good. And a lot of these rookies aren't going to be good. Or they're not going to be fantastic. A lot of these rookies are going to be a one and done. I hope I'm not one of them. I could be very much looking back on this video in 12 months going, hey, that's when I completely ruined any chance I have, because I said I'm going to be a one and done rookie.
You sound like Kevin Smith who made Clerks. But has failed.
and I want to be able to show, hey, I'm more than a one and done. I'm not going to be a one and done, but I also have a very realistic approach of I'm probably going to win. I'm probably only going to play 2 or 3 matches this year, and that's all I want to play. I want to spend time with inside a manager's circle learning, and that's the whole point of this year for me. And there's a lot of managers out there who I think would rather someone who can come in, get 2 or 3 wins, but that who is willing to learn from them and is willing to open up and actually be like, okay, I want you to help train me, and I want to learn from you. And there's quite a few managers who I believe are open to that and would very much appreciate that, rather than having a rookie come in and acting like I know what's best. Because a lot of these rookies aren't going to know what's best, and that's
not bad at all.
That approach though of don't come in expecting to be the next Merle, next Roker. Be the first Jacob Blunden. That's what you need to do. Yeah,
and that's my approach. Is this year is very much a learning year for me, and I want a manager who is willing to teach, essentially, and willing to be a manager. Like and that's why I love about a lot of these managers is they are essentially teachers. They're not people who are going to come in and try and take over the spotlight. They're trying to actually better you as a competitor, and any competitor who doesn't take that on board, I think, is a massive mistake. You need to learn from your manager, and that's kind of what I want to do.
Right on. So we're coming to the end of our time here. However, we always have two questions we ask every single person we interview. The first one is, I know nobody, like going into this, nobody really knew who Jacob Blunden was, but if you could tell the audience and the managers out there something that they would never expect about you that you're willing to share.
I mean, the most unexpected, I guess you could maybe find it expecting. I'm very boring. I'm a credit analyst for a bank, and I live up to that expectation very, very well. But on weekends, but then the other thing is I love sport. I adore sport more than anything, and I will sit down and lose an entire weekend or an entire week to just watching sport.
Very nice.
That's something that a lot of people don't expect when I say that I love movies.
As two hockey loving Canadians, man, you're speaking our jam. First night of the NHL.
As someone who gets up at 3 a.m. every Monday morning to watch the NFL and gets up, and spends 5 days watching cricket, I love sport.
You must really love sport to love cricket.
Oh, come on. I'm Aussie. We all love
I know
sport.
jack shit about cricket, so I mean, I'm just bugging. And then our other question is, okay, so say tomorrow you are told you have 1 week left to, 1 week left, and at the end of that week, movies will no longer exist. Whatever, be it some alien comes down and says, I'm killing my movies. What are 3 movies that you would watch during that week as a final farewell to cinema?
This one would definitely be one of them. Good Will Hunting.
Great movie.
Social Network.
Okay.
And I'd probably it'd be a toss up between La La Land or Arrival, and it would probably go Arrival.
Huh. Wow.
I think Arrival is one of the most underrated masterpieces of the 21st century. Like, outside of so Social Network was my number 1 film of the decade because I think it's one of the greatest films ever made. Arrival's a bloody close second.
Wow, that's some pretty high praise.
Yeah, I loved Arrival. So I went and saw that 3 times in theaters. I remember walking out of it, and I just was like, what the hell did I just watch? And my friend's like, that was good. And I'm like, I'm going to the next session. Bye.
The thing I love the most about this question is I don't think we've ever heard the same answer twice, which is amazing.
That's good.
I wonder if I compiled a list if we've even heard the same movie twice. Like,
yeah.
I am curious, and like it does tell you something about everyone when we ask this question, because it is such a wide-ranging thing for people.
Well, Quebec has a curfew, so you might have the time now. Okay, well, thank you very much, Jacob. This has been a lot of fun actually getting to talk to you for almost 40 minutes here.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. This was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Where can everybody find you?
So you guys can find me on Twitter at Jacob Blunden. I generally post mad ravings about movies and have angry opinions about other movies. Also on Letterboxd, where I do majority of my reviews, I'll post pretty much everything I'm watching at the moment, which includes the Twilight Saga right now, because I need to study everything. So that's fun. And you can also follow, we haven't really been as active, but me and my partner, Taylor Robinson, has her YouTube channel, Finely Tailored.
Oh, fuck. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Taylor
Taylor's
in the Schmodown once, Taylor?
Yeah.
Fuck off. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so so her and I have her YouTube channel we occasionally post on. We haven't been very active lately just because of everything going on at the moment. But
it's like, okay.
She came to Australia. I kidnapped her, so that's kind of why she stopped competing, because she decided I'm going to move over to a completely different country.
You know what? Honestly, personally, I can't think of a better way to stop competing for love.
So yeah, at Finely Tailored on YouTube. So that's right.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jacob, and we hope to see more of you this upcoming season. And everybody out there, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more rookie profiles coming up. And everybody, don't forget, stay sweaty and smash cancer too.